All right, so let's start with a big story that we are tracking on WION this hour, where the hardest week of the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States is nearing an end, but the number of deaths continue to surge. Now, the country has recorded 2,108 deaths in just the last 24 hours. This is the single biggest death toll that's been recorded in a day since the outbreak began. Meanwhile, the state of New York has also recorded more cases than any country in the world. But the death toll in the state has seen a slight dip in the last 24 hours, with 777 deaths being reported in the last 24 hours. However, the rate of hospitalization in the city remains pretty flat. Now, the number of patients in the state's intensive care units has also fallen for the very first time. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has said that he is pretty optimistic that the coronavirus infection rate is slowing down in the state.
Cautiously optimistic that we are slowing the infection rate. That's what the numbers say. That's what the data suggests to us. Change in total hospitalizations is down, not relative to yesterday, but when it's averaged, the 3-day average on the hospitalizations, you see a dramatic decline in those numbers, and that's obviously very good news.
Now, Andrew Cuomo even said that if the rate stays flat, then New York may not need all the field hospitals that they are scrambling to construct. But this comes as New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio visited another temporary hospital that's been opened up at the US Open tennis venue. But even as the deaths in the United States set grim records every day, White House health experts believe that the country is now starting to perhaps flatten the curve. New federal projections show that social distancing measures are reducing the rate of infections, but experts believe that even if the restrictions are lifted after 30 days, it could still lead to a drastic spike in the number of cases. And even US President Donald Trump has said that he thinks that the United States may lose fewer than 100,000 lives. Remember, White House medical experts had earlier forecasted that nearly about 100,000 to maybe perhaps even until 240,000 Americans could lose their lives to the COVID-19 infection.
The minimum number was 100,000 lives, and I think we'll be substantially under that number. Hard to believe that if you had 60,000, you can never be happy, but that's a lot fewer than we were originally told and thinking. So they said between 100 and 220,000 lives on the minimum side, and then up to 2.2 million lives if we didn't do anything. But it showed a just tremendous resolve by the people of this country. So we'll see what it ends up being, but it looks like we're headed to a number substantially below the 100,000. That would be the low mark. And I hope that bears out.
So the country grapples with a crisis. The pandemic has now taken a toll on the health workers and also the frontline responders. Health workers at New York City's Mount Sinai Hospital were seen holding a vigil for their colleagues who lost their lives.
Equilistasis 3:1. And went beyond his calling so I can get out.
Meanwhile, health workers on the front lines in California continue to battle the crisis in a unique manner. Medical personnel used laminated badges with self-portraits over their personal protective equipment to make them and their patients feel comfortable.